Gentlemen, end of day two. And sort of, I always find this is kind of, it's almost a bit of a sad period. It's like, you've put so much into it and there's been so much going on and you've had, we've built some really strong relationships, some strong bonds. And then suddenly here we are, that's it. How do you feel?
No, I'm excited. I'm
Good man.
actually excited. It is, you're right. There is some bittersweet part. We love spending the time with our partners. We get the 2 or 3 days with them. It's excellent. But you know what? It's the feedback and the discussions today, again, and just the excitement that I saw on our partners' faces. It makes it all worthwhile. Like, this is exactly what we tried to achieve. And I think we did. I'm just completely psyched about it.
Yeah, and I don't think it should be bittersweet or a sad moment, because what should really be is a starting point. I think speaking with the partners I've spoken with over the last couple of days, they're rejuvenated, they're excited. So we got to get back. I mean, we'd all love to stay in Prague for as long as possible, but we got to get back to the day job at some point as well. So I think, there's a real good vibe around the place. The feedback has been amazing. So I think it's, now it's the time to, take back what we've all learned here and obviously implement it in our roles, whether that's on the enable side or obviously on our partner side as well.
And I think you said it yesterday, or maybe it's this morning, about actionable insights, taking home actionable insights. And I had a great one. I was talking to Stephanie Hammond, and she said somebody was in her boot camp it was on the pre-day, but came up to her at the end and just showed her a list of notes, all highlighted and with actionable insights. People really taking stuff away.
Well, you know what? I mean, when I opened this morning for day 2, I said to the room, how many got an actionable insight yesterday? And almost every single hand went up, if not every hand. And I attribute that to the peer-to-peer, to the type of content that was delivered. Like, they're teaching each other, which is really an amazing thing when you foster that as a community. And, we're actually not done yet, believe it or not, because tomorrow we actually have our advisory groups of our super elite and our elite. So there's going to be even more discussion tomorrow. But I think as the mass group, like, it was, to have that many hands go up in a room, that means that they're working with each other. And I think they took what I said on day 1, that there was no competitors in that room. And I actually talked to a partner from Italy, and he goes, I actually wrote that down. I need to start thinking that way in my own market.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to one of the questions, particularly when I was at the booths throughout the day, was, how you find Empower. Was it your first Empower? Because obviously, we've had many Empowers in the past and stuff like that. So I'm always interested when someone comes for the first time to see and feel what they think about it. And, the overriding kind of bit of feedback that I was getting from the partners was, it's not at all what I expected, but obviously in an amazingly better way as such as well. So it's great to get to hear and see that kind of feedback. The partners were excited about coming, but then obviously we've exceeded their expectations of what they thought they were coming to as well.
And I'll come back to that in a minute, because one of the things I want to get from you guys is kind of like, some of the best quotes that we've had over the past couple of days. But just to sort of like, I mean, certainly, we've had our own learnings as well. One of which is that we don't slouch in these chairs when we're doing the interviews.
Yeah, no, it's again, I'm hoping that the dark on dark washes out a little bit of this, but
we should have an overlay or something of yesterday versus today and see how much upright.
See how much we're all currently sitting upright.
Yeah. You know what? They say the camera adds 10 pounds, but I think when I go home, I got a little bit more than that to lose. So yeah.
So we're again takeaway, good solid takeaway actions that we've got personally. Which is
absolutely.
Good.
Yeah. Well, we all need something.
Exactly. So anyway, moving on. One of the things I want to do is just kind of blitz through today's sessions, touch on some of the big things, because there's been a lot of big things going on today that I've sat through some sessions that have, there's a lot to take out of that. But I mean, firstly, we kind of touch on, I suppose, that our own DMAC, Dave McKinnon, was up first with his, his securing the cloud essentially, and this is something it's kind of critical, really, as we move forward. I mean, to some people, it's old hat. Some of the super elites and stuff like that have been doing a lot of security for a long time. But things are changing. The cloud is drastically changing
But
the environment.
we're very lucky to have someone like David Kinnan in our organization. Like, I mean, he is our CSO, but he's an amazing public speaker as well. And I find him very engaging. And like, I was in South Africa with him last year, and he did, presentations in different cities. So I'm saying, similar presentation day on, day on, day on. But like every day, I'm so engaged by him. Like, so he kind of he challenges you on security. He makes you look at yourself. And even today, I was looking at, little points he was touching on. I said, I'm maybe doing that, and I shouldn't be doing that kind of scenario. And I think as a partner here, when Dave's on the stage and he's talking about these things, it's probably challenging them to look at themselves first. Because if you don't have your own house in order, how can you manage your customers and their environments as well? So I always find his sessions hugely insightful, and he's a huge benefit to our organization as well.
I think that's the key point that you said, if you don't have your own house in order. And Dave is so good at relating to what we do as a business, and he's open about that.
Yeah.
And that gives confidence to our partners that we have the systems and the processes in place as well to be secure, because we are an extension of their business, right? And we're a critical component of that. So you're right. He's got that natural ability to do that, which I thought it was fantastic.
And that linked quite nicely into the Sentinel-1 piece. And those guys, Sentinel-1 are kind of a core part in a way of our security offering, aren't they?
Well, they're an extremely strategic partner. When we brought on Sentinel-1 years ago, it was a need in the market, and I believe that as Enable, we were very early to the market with that offering, and we've seen this massive uptake through our partners because they see the need. And I think the big difference is that the way security's evolved over the last year or so, maybe even a year and a half, I have this thing that I say where there's certain things that you sell, and there's certain things you just tell. And EDR is a norm now that you tell. It's not an option. And Sentinel-1 has been an amazing partner to us. We've been on the road with them. And we even learn from them because they're the experts at this. So it was fantastic to have Lars here talking on stage and going through what the platform looks like. And it allows our partners then to see what we offer, because not all know everything, but as well to learn what's coming. So I think all of those are exciting points.
Yeah, I mean, I've been involved with kind of the Sentinel-1 relationship from very early days, and even to see how they've evolved as a company, how they've changed, and we were very early to the market, I feel, with our EDR offering partnership with them. But it's very exciting now to see, where they've, how they developed that period of time, and it's more than now just that EDR element to it, like, the overview that they gave today and what's coming, and obviously the vigilance that we're now offering as well. It's very exciting times. It's a great relationship between our two organizations as well.
And so the next thing on my agenda really was the AI stuff. To me, that was fascinating, and it perfectly kind of, I suppose, epitomized what you said, what John says is like, the answer is in the room. It's kind of like, and at the moment, I don't think any of us would be blasé or even arrogant enough to stick our hands up and go, there were answers. But there were, we raised the topic, we started the discussion, I think is the point. And I think there were some fascinating things that come out of there around, certainly around cultural concerns. The way a lot of this is coming out of the States. Europe is kind of very concerned and threatened by the States in terms of regulations and data handling, and also in terms of owning intellectual property. So there's it's a minefield, and that kind of opened it up really to sort of like start to look at where the key issues are, but also to raise the point that MSPs are sort of central in a way to kind of taking on that technology, looking at it, playing around with it, looking at where the dangers are, and also where the business opportunities are.
Yeah, I mean, there's both. And that was the idea. When we do panels, they're never, you can't say that's, you got 4 or 5 experts sitting on stage, right? The idea is to do that, to foster that discussion, to say, hey, what do I think? And in my business, it works this way. And in my business, it might work that way. And we were a little bit unique on this one because we had 3 MSPs and actually a consultant to MSPs. So a very different viewpoint in how they did it. And what I found interesting about it was, David McKenna from Running Computers talking about how they're looking at AI not internally first, but what their customers would want.
Yeah.
Right. So they're
Exactly.
thinking of that outbound. And then, yes, you do have the ethical concerns and so forth. But that's what it was. You're right, Pete. Like we were trying to foster, is the answer in the room? We knew it probably wasn't yet because it is early days. But I mean, I thought the whole panel was fantastic. We had great questions from the audience and viewpoints from the audience that I think went a long way.
Yeah, I mean, I probably could speak for about an hour on what I got out of that session today.
Well, you use ChatGPT a lot, so
Well, I mean, like some have level accusations that I use to write blogs and stuff like that. Luckily, no in particular, Pete, but that's not the case as such. I mean, I said yesterday you could ask 400 different people what you want to use ChatGPT for, or something like that. You get 400 different answers, but. I suppose what struck me today is because ChatGPT is kind of buzz, term at the moment, and we're all talking about it and we're all excited about it. And Dave McKenna mentioned, his kids were fascinated that they knew what it was. I know my kids know what it is, kind of scenario. AI is not a new thing, but how I suppose our impression of AI has definitely changed within the last few months with this, with these new kind of, it's like, Google and Bing, these search engines. It's like the next kind of search engine type evolution of the space. But there were so many interesting points that, the idea of, what happens if one, AI engine starts talking to another AI engine and
Yeah, I
coupling
thought that's
together,
really interesting.
and then, it was actually disagree with each other.
Yeah.
And what would be the outcome of that kind of scenario? And I thought the compliance element of it was very interesting. Obviously, we had 3 of the panel were obviously European based. We had David from South Africa. Obviously, things are differently there. But the point was made that Europe has taken a stance with GDPR, and maybe this is an industry that should that we should look to have some compliance in early doors before it becomes too late as such as well. But I'd almost love to go back and watch the whole thing over again, because I know there's as I jotting down notes on it, there's things that I missed. It was just a fascinating conversation.
And I found it interesting that the conversation has sort of shifted away from, to a certain extent, away from, AI is going to take everybody's jobs away, and more about how we can apply it to make our own jobs easier.
Yeah.
And I think it was one of the guys, Alex, you probably remember his company and where he's from.
it's Protomate. Yep.
Yeah. So Alex from Protomate, I mean, one of the things he said was that great quote is like, AI isn't going to take your jobs away, but somebody that knows how to use AI is.
Yeah, you know what? It was a really insightful quote, and I also found one that David talked about was giving people more time for knowledge, right? And not just working, but thinking, right? And thinking differently. And so that can take some of that load off of, I guess, what you would really deem more manual type tasks. But it was, I found it, to your point, Paul, the differences between the countries and just how insightful it was, right? For each of the regional markets, that it shows that that's where that crowdsourcing happens of, I hadn't thought of that. And they were even agreeing on stage at times, like, I hadn't thought of that. Oh, that's a good idea. So there are regionalized and geographical implications. But then there's still all of these benefits that sit in front of it, right? And that's really where I think that's the answer everybody's waiting for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, back to your point on having a diverse audience here today, and obviously people from not only across Europe but further afield, from Canada and the US, obviously down as far as South Africa as such, but also from an enable point of view, we have our own staff from right across the globe here as well. And someone that maybe is largely based in the US, for example, isn't used to hearing what the European partners have to say about it as such. So I think the whole conversation was just we all got something out of it. But it's very interesting when you have, just an eclectic mix of different nationalities, and hearing, how things differ from country to country and region to region as well.
Yeah, and I'm excited. And one of the things I'm excited about is how that feeds into, how this afternoon or this morning feeds into our content we put out, our conversations, and how that conversation develops and how we can be involved in that conversation.
Well, I think one of the things that we say internally, and John brought it out this year for us as a business, was raise the bar, right? And I think that what we learned from our partners, but also what we delivered, is raising the bar for all of us here, and that's exciting to me, because, as I said yesterday, we have the best MSPs in the world, right? And if we can continue to raise that bar, it puts them that much further out in the field.
Yeah. And so let's move on. Look at, obviously, because we didn't just have the one session today.
No,
we had lots of sessions.
Yes.
Again, a packed afternoon. As I said yesterday, a lot of time it's the afternoon sessions where the real learning and actionable insights come from.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, for me, it's, the continuation of business transformation, super important. Already talking to partners who are going to head to beautiful Nice, France to join that session. But something unique that we do is this meet and greet for the M&A, where we allow buyers and sellers to intermingle, right? And giving them the ability to see if there's a right fit there. And to me, that's always it's a great session. And it allows me to see how the market's looking at M&A.
For me, obviously, with my role in the organization, I'm always kind of focused around the product, what's happening, the roadmap features. So that was kind of where I set myself up today, this afternoon, to see what's happening. Shout out to Chris Dunsmore and the product management team around what he's doing with Patch. I mean, it's something that partners have been crying out for years. These do dashboards, this Patch 2.0. It was a brilliant presentation, but what was fascinating, and I was up kind of on stage with him towards the end, and I wasn't saying that's why it's a brilliant presentation, probably helps, was this
it for sure.
Not an ounce of modesty in the man, is it?
It was just this rush of people that wanted more information. So you have your 45 minutes, and obviously these sessions are to kind of start the conversations. We want to continue these conversations when we move back to our offices, our home offices, or wherever we're going next week again. But these, you cannot talk to everyone for hours on end. It's to start the conversations. But the rush of people that came at us towards the end, Chris actually had to kind of, walk out of the room so they'd chase after him so he could free up it for the next session as well. So it's just great content, and it reaffirms that we're taking the right direction. We've a great team with Mike Adler from the product point of view, right down Laura Dubois. It's really exciting times, I think, to be at Enable and be partnering with Enable with the vision that we have moving forward as well.
Yeah, I think you said a key thing there, though. We started the conversation, it doesn't end. Empower actually extends past this, right? And as we continue those conversations, and at the end, you guys are both in it. John does a team huddle, right? And what he said was follow up. Right, continue to follow up. It's so critical because Empower continues to extend, and then we spread that out to the masses, right? And that allows us then to continue this conversation.
Yeah, which kind of ties. So that brings me really to the last point I wanted to kind of bring out with us is what has been your favourite comment that you've had back from a partner over the last couple of days?
I have two. Am I allowed to? I don't know. But anyway, okay.
It depends. It depends whether one of yours takes mine away.
Yeah, okay. I don't think so. So one of them is actually a partner who traveled all the way from Cape Town, South Africa to speak for us. And their business is actually based out of London. He said this was another level that blew me away. And it was so important for me to be here. The second one that I got was, and it was a great quote, was, "This is the best MSP event I've been to, and next time we will bring our whole team because they need to learn."
Yeah, I like that last one. That's great. That's really good. Yeah.
I suppose the one that stood out to me was I was speaking to one of the partners during one of the parties last night, which was also a memorable experience. But it was, I came here wanting to kind of, give you a hard time and give out to you. they said the content's just too good, I can't. So I was kind of going, you know, that says it all. You know, he came here probably a little bit upset, not satisfied, not happy. He says, I have my opportunity to stand face to face and talk to him, but he's going through the different talk or sessions that we have. He's gone through his different tracks, and he's just got so much out of it. Maybe he's just reinvigorated by it. So I just thought it was funny. Like, I wanted to hate you, but I can't. You're just too good.
So yeah, mine was one of the partner interviews that I was doing. So they're a relatively new partner. I think they've been with us about 6 months. They shifted over from one of the competition, and they said the guy said to me, he said, you know, you guys talk a good talk. I came to Empower to see if you can walk the walk, and he said, and I'm coming back.
You know what? You can't ask for anything more than that, you know? And you know, when I closed out today, when I said we truly mean partnership, we do. Our event is not about selling product. Our event is not about a sales pitch. Our event is about educating, because when we all educate well together, we up-level our businesses.
Excellent. Gentlemen, without wishing to start to sound as I'm about to start a really corny joke, but an Englishman, a Canadian, and an Irishman are about to walk into a bar somewhere.
You took my joke. Oh, no. I don't know I don't have a punchline though. So
no.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know, thank you very much. It's been I've had a great 2 days, and I can't wait to do it again.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's been great. And Pete, you've done a fantastic job with this. And Paul, you've been okay.
All right. That's all I was going for.
Next time your notes need to be better.
Yeah.
I need an A4 as opposed to an A3. Notepad. Good stuff.
Good.